Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's True Crime live stream. If you're new here, I'm FEARSONA. You can call me FEARSONA Red, and I'm your friendly neighborhood true crime VTuber, here to give you full body chills. And for once, I didn't mess up my intro. Hi. Okay, so before we start with today's case, I just wanted to say there's been a huge update on the Stockton serial killer case, which is basically a suspect. The suspect is in custody. Wait. I just realized my chat. I forgot to set my chat box to so that it's visible. Yes, finally. Okay, so as I said, there's been an update. The suspect is in custody finally, which is a huge relief. The police arrested a 43-year-old Wesley Brownlee. After receiving multiple tips from the community, from people in Stockton and in the area in California, and they were able to basically track him down after receiving all those tips. So you guys can read it in the news. Definitely, there has been like a lot of reporting on it. I posted one of the articles that CW actually sent to me. CW is one of my Patreons. They were on the lookout for any updates, and luckily, we had one. So that's a huge relief, definitely for the community and for the whole state, for the whole country, because this guy was out there, and he took a lot of lives. So that's at least that's over, and hopefully he's gonna be in he's gonna get what he deserves, which sounds bad, but yeah, for taking those lives, definitely, he needs to be put on trial. There needs to be an investigation, and hopefully we're gonna get to the just conclusion. Okay, so today's case is one of those that still waits for answers. A young girl goes on a hiking trip to Yosemite Park with her family, only to vanish without a trace, within a very small window of time. And for years and years to come, this case remains a mystery to the law enforcement, and a heartbreaking story that we can only hope will someday answer this question. What happened to Stacy Aras? The day was July 17th. 1981, when 14-year-old Stacy Arras went on a horseback riding trip with her father, George Arras, and 6 or 7 other people in their group in the Sunrise Meadows area of Yosemite National Park in California. That morning, the group would ride for a few hours, and in the mid-afternoon, they had returned to the cabins at Sunrise High Sierra Camp. The plan was simple. It was to basically freshen up and stay the night at the camp. The Sunrise Camp is the last one on the 15-mile High Sierra Camp loop, and it is situated 9,400 feet above the sea level. The camp offered 9 cabins that could accommodate up to 34 guests. And that day, Stacy and her father were a part of a bigger horse riding group, riding with 10 other campers and obviously the staff. So the camp was pretty lively, and there were definitely plenty of people to notice if something were to happen. So after washing up and changing her clothes, Stacy noticed another camper, a man in his 70s named Gerald Stewart, who was sitting on a boulder about 100 feet away from the camp. And Stacy would then tell her dad that she will go on a short walk towards where Gerald was sitting, because she wanted to take some photographs of the view of the area. She asked her dad if he wanted to join her on a hike it was not even supposed to be a hike, it was supposed to be a very short walk. to which he declined, but he did recommend her to change her flip-flops to a pair of hiking boots. And from what the initial reports, like as the media reported it, she complied and changed her shoes to hiking boots and headed out on the trail, even though later I will discuss some discrepancies that happened in the case that just they don't line up. The media coverage doesn't line up with what actually happened, and I'm gonna cover that later. But basically, she sets off and she goes on that little walk. You know, it wasn't supposed to be long. She was just trying to take some photographs, some pictures, and then get back to the camp. So everybody in the camp saw her walking off and heading towards the boulder where Gerald Stewart was sitting. She was seen taking some photos, and then she had a brief conversation with Gerald. Then she told him that she was going to take a walk towards the nearby lake, although reports are mixed on which lake did she mean. Like, was there a little pond, or was she heading off to a lake that was a little bit further away? Because there are two options. So either she was heading a few hundred yards to flooded Longmeadow Lake, or she wanted to take a longer route to the Sunrise Lake, which would be a mile and a half away from where the camp was, which would be a long hike. As you can see, like, it's like 40-minute walk. That's not a short walk. That's not a short hike. So it doesn't seem like there was any other lake around. Like, it's later the reports say that there's no other lake around. So she was either heading for the Longmeadow or the Sunrise Lake. And then, you see, Gerald offered to go with her. And he did. He walked with her for a while, but after, you know, a brief walk, which was like 20-30 minutes long, like, apparently, this is how the media reports it, 20 to 30 minutes, Gerald then basically got tired and sat down again. The group from the camp, like, apparently they could see them from the camp above, and then they confirmed that Gerald and Stacy were walking together up until the point when, you know, the old guy sat down. Wow, that sounded bad. The old guy. I mean the elderly man sat down. They also did see Stacy continue walking a little further, away from Gerald and towards the lake. And then she walked behind some trees and disappeared from the campers and Gerald's line of sight. And this would be the last time Stacy was ever seen. Some time had passed, and here the reports are very, very unclear. Some say it was within an hour, others say that it was less than 20 or 30 minutes, it was like a couple of minutes. And Gerald got concerned when Stacy didn't return, so he headed back to the camp and asked the group if they had seen her reaching the lake or if she had returned by a different trail that he wasn't aware of. But they said no. They haven't seen her past that point when she split up with Gerald and when she headed off towards the, you know, behind the tree line towards the lake. So the group gathered for a search of the young girl, and this, again, the reports say it was like within a very short time from when she disappeared. So I'm kind of confused, like, why did they think, like, why were they concerned about her if it was like such a short time? Other reports say, oh, it was like, you know, she was gone for quite a while, and you know, like, it's not like, I guess, like, oh, it was longer, so a lot of things up, you know, a number of things could have happened. But obviously there are different reports on how long did it take for them to actually, like, you know, the campers to embark on a search. So as I said, the group gathered for the search, and they were unsuccessful. Obviously, like, she was nowhere to be found. And then they reported Stacy as missing to the park officials. At the same time, Gerald approached another group of hikers who were coming from the direction that Stacy had taken, and he asked them if they crossed paths with her because, there was only one trail that was heading towards that area where Stacy wanted to go. So if they were taking the same trail, at one point they must have crossed paths with Stacy, with a young 14-year-old girl. But no, they actually said that they had not seen anyone. Like, they hadn't crossed paths with anyone. So that's weird. She was going down that trail, so what's happening? And here there's a quote from a news report. Quote, Sunrise staff members searched for her the entire day, and the National Park Service joined the following morning. End quote. At that point, the staff informed Mountain Rescue Association of the incident. Then, the search, involving up to 100 or 150 people, rescuers, and sniffer dogs, was deployed and scanned the area for over 10 days, concentrating around Sunrise Lake, where they believed Stacy was last seen. There were helicopters involved and in the search, as well as Park's own chopper, which searched the area for a total of 40 hours in the air. There were water vessels searching on the lake. It seems like all hands were on this deck. Everyone was involved in the search. But despite the efforts of the Mountain Rescue Association, they did not find Stacy herself, and honestly, they didn't find much. Like, there wasn't any clues. Like, there weren't any clues, like, after, Stacy. And at one point, they did find something. The only trace of Stacy that they did find was the lens of Stacy's camera, and it was found right inside the tree line from where she walked into the area by the lake. That same tree line that cut off the campers and Gerald's sight of her. So she dropped it pretty much immediately before, immediately after she, got out of sight, but before she disappeared. And there was actually nothing else of hers. Like, no camera, no clothes or shoes, no traces of blood or even footprints. Nothing. Like, there was literally nothing. And, it's like she completely disintegrated into, on the trail, disintegrated into thin air. It was actually pointed out that Stacy was a smoker, and yet the search crew never found her cigarettes or lighter or any signs of, her smoking on the trail or anywhere near, where she was walking to. There were also no signs of an animal attack, and given the short distance and pretty straightforward trail back to the camp, it is unlikely that she had gotten lost on her way to the lake or back. Because it's like, it was within, if we can believe the reports, it was within minutes so that she disappeared. So how could she have gotten lost? Like, that didn't make sense. But someone on Reddit pointed out an important aspect. The weather conditions that day weren't the best. It was actually quite windy, temperatures of around 40 or 50 Fahrenheit, which is like 4 to 10 Celsius, especially at night. And the wind would make hearing of any yells or screams quite difficult, like it distorts any sound, which means that had Stacy slipped and injured herself, it would be very hard to hear her calling for help. Did she end up in a Narnia? Come on, guys. I mean, no, I don't think this was Narnia. I think it was something much more sinister. Okay, so this Reddit user by the name Hector Baya said the following about Stacy's disappearance. Quote, "She left the group and was exploring alone, off trail, which is very dangerous if you aren't carrying navigation tools and experienced in using them. She was also likely distracted, paying more attention to photography than to navigation. The search was fairly small relative to the size of the area they had to work with, and it's likely she kept moving even once she realized she was lost, because the majority of people do. But it's also the absolute worst thing to do in almost every case, because then searchers are playing catch up. Sorry. Oh god, I have to Sorry, I have to cough. Okay. I'm back. Okay, so let me just continue with the post. A point I see brought up fairly often is that she was within shouting distance, but I don't think there's a way to prove that. Sound in the wilderness is weird. I've spent a ton of time hiding from searchers as a training subject, and even I'm still sometimes surprised at how variable sound can be. I've had searchers shouting for me from maybe 50 feet away, but I couldn't hear because of a slight ridge and wind blowing away from me. On the other hand, I've been freaked out by hearing a dog panting and human voices just above me when I knew the team wasn't close to me yet, because I was hiding on the edge of a canyon and there was a weird magnifying/echo effect. Usually the trend is for sound to be dampened, though. Even a bit of vegetation, a small hill, and a slight breeze you barely notice are enough to muffle sound to a surprising degree. End quote. So, even if she was very close by, like it seems, this is what I take from this post. If she had she slipped and fell, down the hill somewhere that, is off sight from the trail, and then she started, yelling for help, maybe the weather conditions, maybe the, this kind of, effect, like dampening or muting effect did not, made it so that her voice did not reach searchers, did not reach anyone who was like on the trail and trying to look for her. Obviously, this is just a theory. We don't actually know what happened. So searchers did take the weather into consideration and checked any crawl spaces or places where someone would seek shelter for the night from temperatures, from the wind, but there was no signs of Stacy anywhere. And this is a quote from a news article about it. One searcher said, "There are many places where a body could slip in. If the girl was injured, she could have crawled under a ledge or into a hollow tree to escape the 40-degree night temperature." End quote. And posters of Stacy were displayed all throughout the park and trails to keep hikers aware and cautious of any signs of the missing girl. But again, there was no information. No one saw anything. No one was, spotting anything. Didn't see any traces of her on the trail. No other items that could have been dropped by the girl. Okay, and then the Fresno Bee reported on July 28th, 1981 that there was some family or school troubles that Stacy had around that time. She also missed her boyfriend very much, like a lot. This is what they usually mention, that she had some family troubles, she had some school troubles, and then she also missed her boyfriend a lot, but it just didn't seem serious enough for her to want to disappear. Also, if she wanted to run away, why would she leave the camp in flip-flops? Until her father suggested that she wore hiking boots, which I'm gonna mention because this is a discrepancy between the media reporting and what actually happened. It's actually not sure. Like, to this day, like, I'm reading all those sources or all those articles and reports, and honestly, they say none of them actually say whether or not she did change the shoes to like hiking boots. Some of them do, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I never get the feeling that, okay, yeah, 100% she changed her shoes. Some of them actually say, no, she didn't. She actually had, she was wearing flip-flops, which is weird. Oh, Vlad, thank you so much for your donation. Sorry I'm late, but I was wondering if it's possible to add isekai to the possible scenarios. Sure. I mean, someone mentioned Narnia. I don't think that's what happened, but, you know, that's... Let's leave that for conspiracy theories. Okay. Then, another strange thing that pretty much supports the abduction theory is the fact that only one item of Stacy's was ever found, which was the camera lens cap. Despite the search beginning pretty much, you know, apparently within a very short time after Stacy vanished, they only found that one item, and it was right in the location where Stacy was last seen. But the thing is, the girl reportedly had several other items on her that could have been dropped very easily. You know, had she been taken, had she slipped and fell. She had an ankle bracelet, stud earrings. She was actually carrying binoculars and a camera. So, you know, some of those items, you can definitely just easily drop them. And yet, none of that was ever found, ever turned up. An experienced climber actually noted that on the internet an experienced climber noted on an internet forum that the lens cap doesn't necessarily have to be a sign of foul play, because those caps tend to, you know, be very easy to fall off and, you know, for anyone to lose. So she might have lost it on the way, but continued down to the lake. So it's possible that it's just, you know, it wasn't even the place where she disappeared from or was taken from. She might have walked further and she just didn't notice that the cap fell off and she lost it. Which would explain why there's no other items around. Like, you know, if she fell, then maybe there would be other items in that spot, but there weren't. So she possibly walked a little bit further or walked way further, like a longer distance, and then, you know, maybe the items are in a completely different spot. Okay. Although the search efforts were, you know, what they report on, the search efforts were extensive. The rescuers did not search cliffs or ravines, and they didn't search deep to wide rivers. Given the abrupt time frame of her disappearance and Stacy's young age, they said it was unlikely for her to decide to climb any rough trails or suddenly go swimming with a camera in hand. That's just, you know, very unlikely. If she had a camera, if she had binoculars, if she had all those items, it just didn't make sense that she would go swimming. She was there to take photos. One report said that the park officials explored the possibility that Stacy could have hiked to a road and then left the park, either willingly or not. And again, there was an extensive search in the air and on land, but nothing turned up. However, there was an issue in communication between fire departments, water vessels, and helicopters. So it's also possible that they could have missed something. They could have missed a place, a spot, you know, who knows. Okay, and now I'm gonna go to the discrepancies that I found in the, you know, reporting, in the media coverage, and in the case. Let me just turn it up. Okay, so there was a number of issues with the details shared by the authorities in charge of the case, which rendered the case and evidence inaccurate. On a Reddit forum about unsolved mysteries, Redditor by the name Persimmon Pluot. I don't know how to pronounce this username, so whatever. This Redditor said that, they claim to have grown up and worked in Yosemite, and they said the following. The official quote, "The official description of where she went missing makes no sense. The group arrived at the Sunrise High Sierra camp, where they planned to stay in some of the cabins. We are told Stacy left to photograph the lake, which was inside of the cabins, but there is no lake inside of the camp. It would have been a very long hike to reach a lake, so that discrepancy is odd. That fact changes things a lot. If she really set out to photograph the lake, then there was a lot of distance and space that could have accounted for her disappearance. There are many crevices and spots where she could have possibly fallen, and crevices can conceal anything. However, not knowing where she went makes it difficult to guess." End quote. So, actually, I did mention it at the beginning when I showed the map of where the camp is. The Sunrise High Sierra camp is situated, and then where the Sunrise Lake is, or Long Meadow Lake is, and it's quite a hike. Actually, it's like 40 minutes. It's like a mile away, so I don't know if they could actually see that lake. Well, this person claims that you can't see that lake from the camp, so it's weird that they would say that Stacy went on a short walk, because if she was heading for the lake, if she was heading towards the lake, then yeah, it makes no sense. Okay, then we have other discrepancies in the story, like Stacy's shoes. At the beginning of the story, I was reporting it, the way the authorities and media reported on it, which is, she changed her boots, like her flip-flops, into hiking boots after talking to her father. But it turns out that some facts were mixed up, like the shoes Stacy was actually wearing, and there was this part where she was about to set off on the trail wearing flip-flops. Again, I repeat myself, but yeah, that's how they reported it. And flip-flops are obviously very unsuitable, shoes, unsuitable footwear to wear on a hiking trail. But after a brief conversation with her father, she changes it into hiking boots, supposedly. But this seems to be inaccurate, because Stacy's father said that he thought she should change into hiking boots, he thought that she did change into hiking boots, but she walked off wearing flip-flops. But there is no clear statement that she had changed the shoes into hiking boots. I don't know why I'm pronouncing it that way. Hiking boots. Okay. There are reports that she just walked off wearing flip-flops. So I don't know. Like, this seems to be the case. Like, it seems like she did wear flip-flops, which would be weird, because this is a 1.5 mile hike, basically, to the lake, which is not close. That's an hour walk. Like, depending on how fast you walk, yeah, it can be 40 minutes, and can be, in flip-flops, honestly, it would take much longer. Okay. Why is my music this weird? Okay, this is like, alright. Time to change the music. Yeah. Okay. And then there's also this conspiracy theory about the correlation between unsolved disappearances and national park services, and it's called the Missing 411. I think you guys mentioned it a lot in my chat, like during my other true crime live streams. Like, always, you guys just mention it, but then I completely forgot that I was supposed to look into that, and I finally got to a case that kind of connects to the conspiracy theory. Okay, so Historic Mysteries website defines 411 cases as follows. Quote, missing 411 cases are a colloquial classification that documents missing person cases that fit a number of criteria. The disappearance occurred in a national park, rural area, or large reserve of public land. Exceptionally odd circumstances surround the disappearance. Mental illness or voluntary disappearances does not appear to be the cause. The term 411 actually has its origins in an inconspicuous computer term that refers to data that cannot be found or a corrupted link. It is certainly an apt metaphor for the state of these individuals who have vanished. End quote. So there's a number of hotspots in the US and around the globe where those disappearances occur, or a concerning number of disappearances occurred. But it seems that one of the most prevalent and quote-unquote popular hotspots is the Yosemite National Park. It is actually known that the Park Service in Yosemite reported 33 people missing from Yosemite between 1909 and 2017, Stacy being the only missing person between 1978 and 1985. But truthfully, there might be many, many more unresolved missing person cases in Yosemite than we know. Why is that? Because there's this information or conspiracy theory that the National Park Services do not collect data on how many visitors disappear within the park. Stacy Aras is one of many people who have disappeared in a national park. The exact number is actually unknown, and it just becomes so sketchy. Like especially her case, it's just very sketchy. So this guy, David Polides, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. That's how I remember it. So he's a retired law enforcement officer, a private investigator currently, and a writer. He actually tried to file a Freedom of Information request to access the original Stacy Arras case file, which he says allegedly was 2,000 pages long. But he was directly denied by a special agent from the national park. The response to his request said that in no uncertain terms they would release this file, but they didn't really provide a clear explanation as to why a case from 40 years ago couldn't be released. Like, who was looking at that 40 years after it happened? The response actually only said that the releasing of the file could interfere with the criminal investigation. But what criminal investigation? Like, authorities from the beginning claimed there was very little possibility that there was foul play. There were no foul play signs, or, you know, they didn't have a person of interest or any suspects in the case. It was a missing persons case. Like, that's what they claimed. They actually leaned towards the possibility that she slipped, she injured herself, she just, you know, this was a terrible accident, or even that she escaped from her family. But like, all this time they claimed that this was a missing persons case, there was no foul play, whatever. Like, so what criminal investigation? Like, what's happening? Not to mention, this case is from 40 years ago. Everyone connected to this story, to the case, would be likely dead by now. Honestly, maybe. Like, a lot of people are probably dead. So why protect this report so much then? Well, I mean, if this alleged 2,000 pages long report even exists, like, why would it be this long if there was little to no evidence? Because they didn't find anything. To this day, there's no other information that beyond what I'm giving you right now. There were no, like, very little witnesses, just the campers, and they didn't really know anything. Again, they didn't find any clues aside from that lens cap. So why why would this file be so long? Like, why? What were they tracking? What happened? Why would they not release this file if claiming that it's a criminal investigation? Like, you don't even have a person of interest. Like, you know, they looked into Gerald at the beginning, you know, the old elderly man that Stacy was interacting with, but she met him that day. It was very random, and everyone saw that he sat down and he didn't follow her, and he came back to the camp, so there's just no way. So despite the fact that nobody looked at this report for at least 20 years, you know, at least 20 years, because let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. They were looking into this case for approximately 20 years after the disappearance. But it's super, like, it's really weird. Like, why would you not release this after so long? And the National Park Service and the authorities claim that it is not a criminal investigation but a missing persons case, and then they deny, you know, the release of the documents or reports based on the fact that, oh, it's gonna interfere with the criminal investigation. So, like, which one is it? So sometime after, you know, this guy David's request, when people started to take more and more interest in Stacy's case, suddenly the National Park Services release some materials from the alleged report, but those are basically the pictures of Stacy that I showed you, and some news articles that I also included in this presentation. Not all of them, but like a lot of them are just simply news articles. So what was there to hide away? Like, why are you claiming that you're releasing the report if it's just like news articles and pictures? Yet, you know, this is like a drop in the ocean if you claim that the report is 2,000 pages long. It's just so weird. And this only fuels people's curiosity, as well as, you know, crazier conspiracy theories and cryptids, like about, you know, how this may be another Area 51 type of case, and either aliens or Bigfoot or other creatures may be involved in the disappearance of Stacy. Obviously, those are, you know, crazier theories that I'm not gonna explore. I'm not gonna venture into because, well, I mean, Bigfoot says it all. I don't believe this is a case. I believe there's something more sinister, yes, but I don't think it would be anything supernatural or, you know, aliens. I don't know. I don't think so. And next we're gonna hear that Russian spies just, you know, abducting people from Yosemite. No, it's just something sketchy is happening, and the National Park Services and authorities are pretty sketch about people going missing in Yosemite and those like hotspots. And yeah, they're very this whole report, like the whole like 2,000 pages long report allegedly, you know, regarding Stacy's case, it's just weird because they released only the things that were available to begin with. So what really happened to Stacy Aras that day? Did she wander off and possibly fell a victim to an accident, to a terrible accident, injure herself, and, you know, was unable to call for help because of the bad weather conditions and weird, you know, sound that doesn't travel in Yosemite? Was this just a regular walk, or was the girl trying to escape troubles at home? Or did she encounter someone on the trail who, you know, basically helped her disappear against her will? It has been 41 years since Stacy went missing, and as years go by, the case sees little to no new information, while more and more discrepancy in the evidence comes to light, and very suspicious behavior from the authorities. Stacy's friends and family hoped that one day they will finally get an answer as to what happened to her that day, but honestly, we may never know. This case for now remains unsolved. Okay. So this is basically it. That's all I have. You guys can look into, there are like more information about like the search, but I didn't think it was that significant to mention. I did mention like who was involved, and you can definitely look it up. But yeah, like I did, list out all the significant information and discrepancies that happened, or issues with the evidence and with the investigation and all the weird stuff. I still think it's kind of weird. I don't know if there's a huge conspiracy theory behind her disappearance, if they are actually hiding the documents, or they never compiled any reports on her disappearance and they just, they're just lying about the report even existing. But, we can only wonder, we can only talk about it here and wonder if this is actually true or not. It doesn't seem like they're gonna release anything official, but we'll see. Like I don't know if missing 411 is an actual thing, or is it just a conspiracy theory that is not actually true, if we're being kind of paranoid about it, if people are being paranoid and too, like, just kind of coming up with crazy theories. All I know is that Stacy's disappearance is very weird. She was never found. The family was hoping that had they found a body in Yosemite Park, it would be fairly easy to identify Stacy because she had braces on her teeth. So obviously if they found a skeleton or anything after years and the skeleton had braces, then it would be very easy to just match it up to this case. But so far, nothing. Okay. Typical fear stream. Walk in for fun, walk out with a head full of pain and questions. I mean, I think that's every case that I cover. Like, every unsolved case that I cover, I think we walk in with hope that there's something we can get out of this, and maybe a theory that's solid theory that was just not explored enough, or the fuck-ups of the law enforcement that just prevented the case from being solved 100%. But honestly, we usually walk out with even more questions than we walked in with. Wait, does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. Well, I mean, if I say it makes sense, it makes sense. Hey Sona, what did you mean that almost every possible witness are basically dead? Well, I mean, it's been 40 years, and those people were, most of them were adults in the camp. I don't know. I mean, that's what the reports say. Like, oh, a lot of the witnesses, her father, like it's been 40 years. It's been quite a while. So a lot of people involved could be dead by now. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know 100%. Like, I don't know for sure if everyone is dead. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people could be dead. Are basically dead. No, it's mafia. Yeah, Russian spies killed them. I like to believe that one day Fear and Us Angry Mob will solve one of these cases. Hey, I mean, if we can help out solve one of those cases, that would be great. If not, well, I mean, we can keep them alive, we can keep them on the front page, because a lot of those cases, go cold. They don't take as much spotlight anymore, and I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to just keep it going, keep it like relevant. What? Jesus. I mean, my mom's that age. Chances are most parties are dead or in the woods eating squirrels. Jesus. Well, I mean, I'm saying, like, it's possible that a lot of those people who were involved in the search, or in the case, or were there in the camp, yeah, they're elderly or they're dead. It's been quite a while. Just let me grab my fedora and trench coat. The kidnap and lost/injured can be possible because the lens is one evidence. Not sure about escaping. Yeah, I'm not sure about that theory. Like, it just didn't seem, at least in the reports, it didn't seem that the troubles were very... Well, first of all, they didn't like actually define what troubles we're talking here, like at home. But it just didn't sound serious enough for for her to want to escape. There was nothing about her relationship with her, like her parents, her father, nothing about like troubles in the relationship or any serious issues at home or school. I don't know, like it just doesn't seem like it was serious enough for her to want to escape. Yeah, I think to me the most possible scenarios are either that she slipped and injured herself. Maybe she, you know, she fell into a crevice that was very hard to see and she lost consciousness. I don't know, like, and she died eventually and they just failed to find her. Or and that's the most sinister scenario, yes, or she was kidnapped, she was abducted from the trail, or she came across someone who just took her. Which, I mean, there, I guess there would be a chance that she's alive then if she was had she been kidnapped, but I don't know. That's you know, it's been a long time, so I'm honestly not sure. Okay, so that's it for today. Hey, Fear, any witnesses? No, they're dead. Well, I said they're possibly dead. Okay, so that's it for today. Tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, I will have a true crime stream on Patreon, and we will discuss the case of Jane Doe with orange socks. That's an interesting case. I'm still working on putting it together. I just wanted to thank Tyrant for helping me out with this case, with today's case of Stacy Arras. He helped me compile information and all the photographs that you saw in the presentation. So thank you so much, Tyrant, for your major help. Because yeah, it helped me navigate through the case. Jesus, I can't speak today. I don't know what's happening. For some reason, I don't know. I can't English today. Always. Orange socks, you say? Yes, this is one of the, let's say, Halloween cases. It happened around Halloween. So yeah, that's gonna be tomorrow's case. And yeah, today's case was brought to you by Tyrant. Not sponsored, but brought to you by well, I mean, sponsored too, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much, Tyrant, for all your help. It was huge help. So thank you again. And all the future cases this month. Okay, your ability to speak also went missing. I think so. I think after a while I was just like, Jesus. Okay. Feels nice to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, again, thank you. Okay, so tomorrow's case is gonna be a Jane Doe with orange socks case. And then, obviously, next week, I don't have a schedule yet. I might do 1 or 2 gaming streams. I'm not entirely sure because I'm working on something. And I say that every time, but I am working on something that I want to kind of finish and, you know, reveal this month around Halloween. So you guys will have a surprise. But yeah, it takes some time. So you have to be patient with me. Yeah, okay. Also, just so, let me just thank all of my patrons. Where is let me just move to the side. Okay, here. Okay, so this is the list of my patrons. Thank you so much, you guys, for all the support, to this channel, supporting this channel, supporting my cases, all the streams and everything, because it makes it, you know, you make it possible for me to stream, to prep those cases, to, you know, focus on the channel, to build it and to grow it, obviously. So thank you so much. What else? Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Wait. Yeah. So as I said, I don't have a schedule in mind yet. There's definitely gonna be a karaoke stream on Patreon in October. Just the karaoke rehearsal. And then we will have something for Halloween. I can't say what yet, but that's gonna be a surprise. Hey Sona, the letter came in today. Yeah, okay, congrats. I'm happy that you received it today. Thanks for the stream, Sona. Yeah, no worries. Okay. So I will post the schedule sometime tomorrow, probably for the next week. We'll see. I might play some horror games this week, 1 or 2. But I am not sure because, yeah, some work cases and like prepping for cases, you know, doing additional research also takes time. So we shall see. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Maybe don't go on a hiking trip in flip-flops. And, yeah, bury your hexes. And stay safe. Until the next time. Bye.